municipal transfer station managers, employees of towns. We can talk about what's going on at that particular cog in this recycling wheel. I'm going to introduce them. First, Michael Zabriskie, Director of Solid Waste and Recycling Department in Fairfield. Welcome, Michael. You may have his. Are you presenting or having a seat? Having a seat. So you can have a seat anywhere. Daphne's going to take a seat in the middle, and I'll be over to turn on the mics in a second. Jessica Palladino, Waste Programs Manager in Norwalk. Welcome, Jessica. Jessica has served as Waste Program Manager for the City of Norwalk for 5 years. She manages the city's solid waste and recycling programs, including transfer station and yard waste site. She also oversight of garbage and recycling collection. So you're the Norwalk person, right? I didn't properly introduce Michael. He's Director of Town of Fairfield Solid Waste and Recycling Department. He's worked for the town for 39 years. His duties as director are to coordinate the financial and legal operations department. So he's the money guy. We're going to hear about money, I think, coming up. So anyway, the next up is Peter Rankovich, who is right here from Westport. Peter is Director of Public Works for the town of Westport. He's worked for the department for 29 years, and he became the department director recently. He analyzes the effects of overseas shutdowns of recycled materials and adjusting procedures accordingly. So he's an analyst of the recycling stream. We're getting into the real nitty-gritty, smart people who have to do this stuff, right? Darren Ustafan. Did I get that right? Close enough, Darren? Yeah. Ustafan, I think is probably. Assistant Director of Public Works for Darien. Darren has served in the Assistant Director role for 18 years. He's involved in all aspects of public works, including the transfer station, recycling center operations, contract administration, Connecticut deep stated reporting, administering residential and commercial permits, and is a registered profession of engineer in Connecticut. So we have all the people who have to do this stuff, and we'd like to invite Daphne up here to organize a discussion.
So this is going to be really fun. So we've got this great group up here, and it's going to be sort of fast-paced, rapid-fire best practices. So there's 4 questions we're going to ask each of our panelists, and they're going to have 1 minute to give you their best shot at the answer. How's that sound? Fun? Maybe not for you. All right, you guys ready? Okay, so the first question is about community, and we'll start with Mike. I'll ask you the question before you have to answer. And you'll just give me the 1 minute, we'll just go around. All right, so the first challenge is community outreach. So what structures are in place, or what actions is the town of Fairfield doing to communicate recycling information to residents about what goes in the blue bin, why it matters, are there any metrics for success, anything like that? So what's your 1 minute answer?
Basically we have electronic outreach, we have brochures that we give to libraries that we have to update, because recently the market has changed dramatically. And there's a lot of materials that aren't going in, that are going in that shouldn't be going in, so we have to re-educate the public. And we have our recycling coordinator, Audrey Shudo, back here. She will be doing most of the education on this.
If you could hold your mics right up to your mouth, then we can hear in the back.
Okay.
There you go, thanks.
Okay, great. So your best practices is the materials you're printing and
Correct.
giving out
and
at the libraries.
Electronics. We have to submit through our website electronically.
Thank you. Okay. Jessica, should I repeat the question, or you ready to go?
Okay.
Okay.
The City of Norwalk uses press releases that are released out to the media outlets. We also have handouts that are available on the website. Some of these handouts are mailed out to our residents that can't get onto our city website. There are messages from the city mayor. The city uses Facebook and Instagram to put out all of our messaging as well.
Terrific. That is awesome. Okay, Pete, what do you think?
Nothing too much different. Westport leverages the Recycle CT brochure. We have it in our main office. When anybody comes in for information on recycling or information on anything else, they can pick one up right there. We have it on our website and social media as well. So it's pretty similar.
Got the question?
Yes.
Okay.
Darien is pretty much the same. We do brochures. When somebody comes to town to buy a dump sticker, we give them a brochure. We have a small budget for school lunchbox programs. We've done tours for third graders for about 4 years. We haven't done it recently because the Board of Ed decided not to do that. We have a number of volunteer groups in town. We do online dump sticker renewal. We post everything to the town webpage. The volunteer groups are also have Facebook accounts, Twitter accounts, a recycling webpage, and we do the town webpage as well. The recycling groups in town really deserve the lion's share of the credit for making everything happen in town. When it comes to public outreach, they are the folks. We are the ones who make it happen, but they're the folks that start it all and educate the public.
Okay, awesome. So let's just do a little follow-up on that. So it sounds like, so we all talked about what we're doing to do the outreach. It sounds like in Darien, you've got a group of people that have somehow become engaged, and they're helping you to spread the word. Is that what I heard you say?
Yes, and the volunteer groups report to the Board of Selectmen and the First Selectman in advisory capacity, and they often get their advice followed.
That's awesome. Do you have a group like that in Westport that is?
Yes, we do. Sorry for not mentioning it. It's the Green Task Force, and mainly the program that we're trying to morph into is to facilitate local volunteer groups to sort of expand on the Green Task Force's mission. The problem is that the Green Task Force is a small group of people, and what we really need to do is make that branch out so that most of the community or a lot of the community gets involved voluntarily. So that just sort of expands the influence of the Green Task Force.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, getting people involved is hard, but I think we all know that that's really, it's key. Is there a group in Norwalk of community members, or is that something you guys are looking at?
There isn't a group, but people do give feedback, and we do take it. And the city has a new press person that out of the mayor's office, and we've been working close. DPW has been working closely with them to put out the message.
Great. How about over there in Fairfield?
Well, we have a sustainability committee, which you would know more about than anyone.
Since I'm on it, yeah.
We have a solid waste recycling commission. We have a few other groups. We used to have our Earth Day committees, and basically we get volunteers.
I know that there's a group, of folks that are pretty into that whole topic. Okay, so moving on. So the next challenge is there a way that we can work with local haulers? The local haulers are the ones taking the recycling from the residents, and sometimes they're picking up things that are contaminated, and that's the tricky part. Is you have residents putting things into their blue bin that shouldn't be in there, and then you've got haulers picking them up. So that's really a sticking point, and that's a tough challenge. Is there anything in Darien that you're doing? I switched it up on you. Is there anything in Darien you're doing to work with the local haulers to see if they can communicate with the residents, to work with them in a way to educate them and to tell them they're not going to take the things that shouldn't be in there?
Yes. A few years ago, the volunteers in Darien, I should probably call them by name, the Advisory Committee on Sustainability. They had a series of names, and they've evolved, but their main mission in recyclables has always stayed the same. So one of the things that they took on a few years ago was to set up a meeting with us, the town, and all the haulers. In Darien, there is no curbside collection. All the haulers are private. So we had to meet with them in order to have them work with their customers, since we didn't have a direct relationship with their customer. So when we met with them, one of the things that came out of it was an established recycling day to try and eliminate cross-contamination between recycling and garbage, just to have that one day a week for recycling and one day a week for garbage. And that was important because before that, a hauler would show up and take the recyclables and the garbage in one truck and have to separate it there. Put the recyclables here, and if one side was full, like the recycling side, then the recycling went in the garbage. So that was an important step. We still separate cardboard. Single stream in our facility it's okay. You can dump the cardboard in the single stream, but if you want, and you have a big refrigerator box, you can dump that, and the haulers will separate that. We also we look at, I wouldn't say enforcement, but if a hauler comes in and dumps his recyclables on our tipping floor and it's in bags, we'll cut the bags open. If there's garbage, we charge them for the garbage. If it's recyclable, it's free. So now we've gotten it down pretty good. We know when the recycling days are for certain haulers, and we know who to watch.
Okay, great. So it sounds like you've got a lot of best practices in place. Sounds like you have a lot of best practices in place.
Yes.
Yes, so that's great. It's a tough topic. It's a tough area to contend with. How about in Westport and the haulers? How are you?
Well,
working
like
with
Darien, we've evolved. Again, we had the same situation years back, and we met with the haulers and decided to set one day aside for recycling, which has improved quite a bit. I'd like to say our enforcement is good, but I would be probably not truthful by saying that. We do spot checks if we need to, and essentially trying to educate the haulers and engage them in the problems that are going on, and then spot checks as enforcement.
And these are very difficult situations to manage. So, there's not always easy solutions. So I think the first thing is, you identify, oh gosh, enforcement's is something we need to do. But how do you actually do that? It's hard, and maybe it's a step at a time. And just even having the awareness, even with this group of people, this awareness to let everybody know, oh, enforcement with the haulers is tough. So how can we,
And of course, our budget, is always being scrutinized. So it's hard to add bodies there to do the spot checks. So it's challenging.
It's challenging. And then, of course, we all know that, with any challenge, there's always a solution. So there's always, what the challenge is, and now it's like, well, what can we do? Like, how can we figure this out? So the stickers you use, are any of the other towns using stickers? No?
We tried them in the past, but when you put a sticker on a bin, it sticks on the bin and it sticks there forever, and
And then they're marked.
correct.
They're marked, thank you. Does that happen in Norwalk? Does the sticker get stuck? Yeah?
The sticker stays stuck.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're marked. So you just don't want to get a sticker then. More incentive to not. Okay.
Sort of like a spot on your tie.
Yes,
That spot, it's
yeah.
always there.
Okay, we have a couple more questions here. So let's talk about glass and plastic. These are big issues here. So let's start with Westport this time. How are you managing you've had that plastic bag awareness for 10 years, but how are you managing your plastic and your glass?
Well, contrary to popular belief, we don't actually have plastic police. So it's really a retail ban on plastic. I think that was explained already, but just because you're carrying a plastic bag, you don't get a fine. Essentially, the program has worked very well since its inception, and we've seen some reduction in plastic. As far as glass goes, that's the biggest challenge today, and I think you'll find that that's common across all 4 of these municipalities. One of the things that we'd like to explore is perhaps at the state level, some assistance in upgrading the MRFs. There are MRFs out west that have solved the problem or are working towards solving the problem by making a more expensive processing plant that's more effective in cleaning the glass. And they found that there is quite a market, not just in cement, but also in sandblasting material and going back into glass, if you get clean glass. But the problem is the MRFs, as was pointed out earlier, don't have the profit margin to upgrade their plant. But at this point, they're going to be, they're charging more. They're charging us a tip fee now instead of giving us money back. So maybe that will turn around. So it's a problem that we have to coordinate with the MRFs and find a common solution to that problem.
Yeah, it's tough. So in Norwalk, I was at the big meeting at City Hall where Norwalk passed a plastic bag ordinance.
They did.
It was
They
a
did
big
last
deal.
week.
Yeah, 12 mil and a fee.
Right,
So
right. So that
Wow.
that is a brand new passage of the bag ban or the carry-out bag ban.
and is it the strongest in Connecticut to date?
That's what I've been told.
Yeah, I
That's
think
what
it
I've been
is.
told.
Lou, is it? It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Big deal.
And so the Norwalk Department of Public Works, the City Hall, the Town Council, as well as the Mayor's Office, and a number of other stakeholders are working together now that it's been passed to reach out to the public, to engage the students in school, and to really inform the public about the plastic bag ban or the carry-out plastic bag ban in Norwalk.
That was amazing. It was unanimous, and that room was just filled with, and the mayor and the whole room was just so enthusiastic about getting rid of plastic, and all in down the line in many ways. It was
Right.
really inspirational.
It was.
It was fantastic.
Right, so we're all working together to come up with the next steps of what is available to Norwalk residents and folks that shop in Norwalk.
Do you think that will make a difference in your facility, not having that ban in place, that ordinance in place?
I think it will. I think it'll also help with the contamination issue on the curbside collection.
Yeah. How about glass? Any thoughts on glass?
Glass has not been as big of an issue for the city of Norwalk. It obviously is a concern from the haulers' perspective and the MRFs facilities, but we in the city of Norwalk still encourage residents to put glass in their recycle bins.
Great, thanks. All right, Mike, how about plastic and glass in Fairfield?
Well, plastic is, I heard it's on the agenda. People are looking at banning plastics at
Yes,
Fairfield.
they are.
So if they do decide to ban it, I think we should look at Westport and Norwalk to see their success stories so we don't try to reinvent the wheel.
And we do call it in Fairfield a reusable bag ordinance.
Correct.
So we do try to support a culture of reusable bags, Anyway,
Okay.
get excited about that, sorry. But go
And the
ahead.
glass, we're in the same situation as Westport and the other municipalities about the glass. There is no market value for glass, and it costs more money, so eventually it's costing us more money.
Okay, thank you. And how about Darien, your thoughts on glass and plastic?
Glass recycling is the law. If it wasn't the law, it's not helping us. It's not helping us with our revenue stream from recycling. With that said, we have a vendor who takes care of our recycling and our transfer station. They are also the processor responsible for finding the markets for this stuff. And we do whatever the law tells us to, and we do whatever we can to help our residents and to help our vendor process this stuff more easily. Plastics, years ago, we used to tell people to put 100 plastic bags in one bag, and it would be separated and recycled. Now, we've been told it doesn't get recycled, it gets burned, it goes into the trash, and it's just a problem for them to take the plastic bags out. So we recently put up signs that say no plastic bags. A few years ago, there was a plastic bag ban attempted, which failed. There's talks now, maybe the time has changed. I know it's something that's being considered and talked about in town.
Great, thank you. So glass is obviously a big issue, and I'm just gonna take a risk here and put Louis on the spot here for a moment and see if you just have any comments about glass and how. Yeah. You said you could talk for hours. You have just a couple minutes. If you want to just
I got
comment.
an extra couple of minutes, okay.
Yeah.
No, as far as glass goes, we'll be able to take all of the municipalities' glass, all the MRF glass, regionally in the state of Connecticut and even from some of the border state glass. It will reduce your cost, just from the sheer, looking at it from the logistics perspective. You know, I don't know what you're doing with your glass per se now, but some of the folks here in the state are shipping the glass as far away as Ohio. So this is going to be a regional solution for you, and it will reduce your cost.
Thank you. And I think I'm going to keep this trend going. And if you don't mind, if you'd like to all have a couple minutes as our subject matter experts to comment on that. If you'd like to go next. Thank you so much, and thanks for.
So in the Housatonic Resources Recovery Authority region, our 11 municipalities voted unanimously to pass a ban on glass in our single stream. So we are still encouraging residents to recycle glass because it is a law, but to source separate it and to bring it to our transfer stations. We're starting with a 90-day pilot program in the towns of Bethel, Reading, and Ridgefield to see what the quality of the material will look like. And our the contracted hauler and our local private transfer station will then take it to strategic material where they're taking it at no cost, the clean glass. So my concern would be, the only concern I have, and I'm encouraged by a possibility of having plaza here in Connecticut, would be what is the tip fee? What is the cost for MRF glass to be disposed of at your facility per ton?
Well, that's going to depend on the characterization of the glass, until we.
A rough spot, a range.
It could range from $15 to $25 a ton.
Okay,
But
thank you.
I'm going to turn it over to my business partner because I'm more the chemist.
No, I think that's a good question. I think that Louis is right. It really is a question of how clean the glass is. If it's as clean as being discussed and delivered to SMI, we can, be in the same range of zero tip fee. The cost is really in the cleaning and the processing of the non-glass material that's left in there. So when you're up to 20-25% waste, as we've seen on the slide, you wind up with those larger tip fees. If the MRF's clean more or it's separated by municipality, that cost comes significantly down. It's all in that extra cleaning and removal of the non-glass, which has to get shipped because it goes back into the waste stream again.
Sounds like another workshop. It's in the works.
Would be, I gave it to the right guy.
Yeah.
And you really
Sure.
put me on the spot.
Just to add a point, and so to add a point, we recognize that strategic materials and bottled glass is the cleanest, MRF glass is not so great. We do have 3 MRF facilities of our 5 that already have the technology to separate glass, but you know why they don't use it? Because it costs more energy and staff than the value they currently get. So if they can meet the specifications of urban mining, then it will all be processed locally. And the other thing, for facilities that are not up to snuff, we have over $2 million available through the closed loop fund for a very low interest loan for any facility that wants to upgrade.
Okay, so this is all exciting. Mike, you had a comment?
Yes, the cost was brought up. Say it's $25 a ton or $35, it's still cheaper than $100 a ton for trash.
Correct.
So whatever it is, you're going to save money.
Yes, ma'am.
You're doing the right thing.
And just one other point. If
Do I have to get the hook? No, go ahead.
Would you give me an extra couple, just a couple
1
of
minute.
seconds? Okay. No, but basically, our specification for clean feedstock is 0.5% LOI, loss of ignition, okay? So if you guys wanted to process your glass to 0.5 percentage of loss of ignition, that would be acceptable feedstock. It's, as Pat said, it's all the non-glass contaminant, but I mean contaminant meaning the non-glass in general, the non-glass material. And that's it from actually the processing or the manufacturing perspective.
Okay, 30 seconds for.
I just wanted to say one more thing, that legislation was passed last year asking the department to review all pilot project applications. And at this point, we have not received any pilot applications for glass, whether it be a demonstration to show how to separate it separately. And the reason being is that we want to ensure that residents have access and the material is still recovered. And that, of course, I'm a big proponent of slow change to help residents catch up.
Thank you, Cheryl. So that was great to kind of dive into that. I hope you guys don't mind that we diverted a little bit. And just to give fair play, as we talked a lot about glass, do you want to, Lou, just, Birch, mention anything a little bit about what can happen if we pass a statewide plastic bag legislation and how that could impact?
What I want to say is, I just want to emphasize that there is no silver bullet solution to these problems. And that
Right.
really what we need to do is we need to take a look at all of these different kinds of solutions and look at how to implement them both at the local level and at the state level. So I would say, absolutely the plastic bag thing is a big one for us. I have to reiterate, expanding the bottle bill is a huge priority. It's not enough to just say expanding the bottle bill, but to modernize that system so that we can actually improve what the consumer experience is like, and actually take into account all of the different players in the system. In the state, that's a significant part of it right there, and that gets at both your glass issues as well as some of the challenges related to plastic pollution.
Well said, thank you. All right, so let's take our panel back, should we? All right, so we've got one last question for our panelists up here, and it's about, we've kind of touched on it, but we're just gonna, in our final few minutes here, just gonna have you one last chance to talk about yourselves. So municipal costs. The question is, can municipalities put practices in place to help reduce recycling costs and or minimize them in the future? Tough question, but just something we would just kind of want to bring up. There's not necessarily good answers or solutions necessarily, but Jessica, should we start with you? If you want to, we're going back to our 1 minute quick answer format. So what's your 1 minute on this?
The city of Norwalk still receives a recycling rebate for our recycling in the city. So the city has not seen a cost for recycling as of yet. We have a long-term contract with a hauler that processes the recycling in the city. It's certainly something we've looked at and looked into and will continue to look into in the next year and on an ongoing time frame because of the other costs that municipalities are seeing.
Great, thank you.
Yes, we lost we had a revenue share. We no longer have any more. It's a cost, but some of the other things too is diversion of other wastes that we have in our town. For example, we had MSW tonnage last year was 31,212 tons. The total combined waste diverted was 34,571 tons, which was, we saved $3.16 million in waste diversion and recycling. So I think towns should start looking at other materials which they're recycling, your electronics, your metals,
Good point.
your yard waste.
Good point. Good point.
Or
Mattresses
mattresses.
Recycling
It's-
is good, but not for every. Doesn't work in every town, I guess. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. How about in Westport?
In the past 2 years, we've implemented a paint care program. We pulled a lot of material out through that program. We're currently doing a pilot program at one of our elementary schools with curbside composting. And we're going to be in discussions with them to see what we can do to work together. None of these are without challenges. Westport has a very small transfer station, so and it's combined with the recycling center, so real estate is at a premium for bringing another stream into Westport. Talked about glass as a separate item. I don't know that we could actually fit it into our station, let alone an actual composting bin that would probably have to be emptied every night. The other thing that we're entertaining, I won't say that we're implementing it yet, is the SMART program, where it's pay as you throw. It's a very controversial program with Westport residents. The last time we tried it, it was resoundingly defeated, but that was many years ago, and times and thinking are changing. And I think that's what we have to count on, is changing people's thinking, and if they can actually see a savings in their budget, in the townwide budget. They're probably not going to see a savings in their taxes, but overall, townwide, if there's a reduction in the budget, and solid waste is a good portion of that budget, then it may make sense to them.
Thank you. Darren, any comments?
In Darien, you can't talk about saving costs without talking about a reduction in the solid waste stream. We too derive a revenue from a long-term contract with the vendor who's responsible for finding the markets for recyclables. Yes, if the recyclables were cleaner, we would see higher revenues, but really, overall, it's taking stuff out of the solid waste stream, because that's where our money goes. Again, the volunteer organization in town, which is very active and successful in new initiatives, we just recently started a food scrap recycling program, which has been received very well. To my surprise, people are shelling out $25 for a kit with a couple hundred bags, a couple bins. That money, that takes stuff out of the solid waste stream and it turns it into a compost. It does have a cost. We don't have the numbers yet to see if it's a break even, but those kinds of initiatives are what the committee comes up with, the Board of Selectmen supports, we're directed to implement. We already have electronics recycling, paint recycling, mattress recycling. I never knew we had a mattress problem. Everybody has called for the past 10 years before we did a mattress recycling program. I used to get calls from other towns, what are you guys doing with your mattresses? I just assumed that somebody dropped off a mattress and took the mattress away for them. Once we instituted the program, I found out that it was a couple mattresses a day, and that comes out of the solid waste stream. We have enough room, unlike some of the other towns here, that we do have a DEP registered leaf composting facility, and we sell it. I mean, the contractors are willing to pay for it. We actually have to save some of the compost for residents to take for free. It's so popular, and we don't even have any special equipment. We just flip it over with a loader, and it turns into what we call black gold.
Awesome. Okay, well, you have all demonstrated that you're doing tremendous work in these towns, and you are up against a lot of challenges, but you're, finding solutions or working towards them. And I just want to thank you so much for contributing today, and to our subject matter experts for chiming in with their expertise. That was amazing. So thank you. What I'd like to do now is let you know we are going to, in a few minutes, we're going to take a quick break.